Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode. I guess this is episode 15
Somewhere around
of the
there. Yeah.
of the power to live your vision. We're still talking about the same thing about the power to live your vision. Boy, I'm so I was just walking through my uh, den a few minutes ago, going, man, I'm sure glad I'm me. you know,
Yes.
uh, you
That
know,
right.
and what that really means is that what's your legacy? How have you lived? What have you done? And that's why we're doing this podcast, is that we've been blessed and we just want to give it back, because we realize, as 10th degree black belts in the martial arts, we're also life success coach. And big congratulations to Coach Ray. He just completed his goal success coaching, and
Yeah.
also he completed, I think in that course you took was also time management. Am I correct?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Time management and also the universal laws course. Completed
Oh man, get
completed
out
that
of here!
certification.
You're gonna be
Yeah, I've been
smarter than
after it.
you're gonna be smarter than I am.
I'm trying to keep up. Like I say, you can't slow down. Got to try. Got to keep up.
Well, that's good. That's good. You're my apprentice. That's good. That's
Yes,
good. That is good. So
that's a
everyone,
good
you
place to
notice we
be.
have a lot of fun because success and about again the power to live your vision. And we want you to become motivated to be the very best you that you can actually be. So
That's right.
remember, be the best you that you can actually be. So today our topic is going to be on how resistance works against us. And we always have, sort of, we call it resistance, we call it struggle, call it whatever you want to call it, but sometimes it's the things that's blocking you and you don't even know what that is. So I'm going to go ahead. Well, before we get started, this podcast is sponsored by Elite Publications. That's Elite Publications. The website is www.elitepublications.org. If you've been thinking about publishing a book and you're ready to move to that next level, give us a call, text us, go to the website, www.elitepublications.org, and let us know. One book can change your life and give you the power to live your vision. Your story is very important. It doesn't matter your story, it can be fiction or nonfiction. You can be in that place of struggle and you found a way out, and you can now, through your book, show someone else how to find their way out. Or maybe it's a novel, something that can really get someone to relax and they can get into their story. So there's so many ways. A Christian book. Right now, I'm looking for Christian authors that want to be able to share their message and convert that into a book. So remember, www.elitepublications.org. Okay, so I'm going to kick it over to you. Let you crank it up today. Let's get started on this topic.
Well, I mean, I've been waiting for today's show. I was excited about today's show because resistance is it could be misunderstood. I mean, it could, depending on your perspective and your application, it can go totally different directions. So, however, resistance is something that's very common. And so I'm excited that we can jump into it, maybe give a little clarity about it. Because most people run from it, avoid it. They even sometimes resent resistance. Resistance shows up and then it can be turned negative into even a resentment of it. And so we want to clarify it and get clear on what exactly resistance is. So I mean, it shows up in a lot of different ways. And I think it's important to understand, before you see resistance externally, usually resistance is already there internally of some type. So we're talking back, we're jumping back into our realm, the internal and the external. Okay. So how does it show up? Fear, procrastination, doubt, fatigue, and opposition from others eventually. So we got a lot of places we can go. But I think the number one thing is, if you look at it from that perspective, it can be limiting. Then on the
Right.
other hand, we got resistance, and we all know if you're serious about getting health, you're serious about getting in shape, then we say resistance is a great thing. Why? Because the application of it builds strength, it builds resilience, it gives you fortitude. As they say, you get a little grit and you have some guts. You kind of face the weakness of yourself, overcome, and then you become stronger on the other side. So there's that aspect as well. So what are your thoughts in terms of, as you help your clients understand resistance and those kind of two different paths? What do you see in that?
Well, my first thought that comes to my mind is inches from goal line. Inches from goal line, and that is, I think that's the Napoleon Hill in there, is that most people get to that point that they're just about ready to have their breakthrough. Then something pops up. And that thing that pops up, that now is a distraction from you. But when you stay focused on your goal, you've got things that may happen and that wants to set you back. But you're always, as long as you understand, you can reset. So when you're working on something and something pops up, maybe it's a project you're working on and your computer dies. Okay. And now it takes you 3 or 4 weeks to be able to get your computer fixed. So that subtracts from it. That is, so now when you go back to it, you may not have that same momentum. It's the same thing about having a great idea and someone, you're in a relationship and that person's negative and they give you negative suggestions. So now they help build that wall of resistance because now you take your eye off the ball. But the great thing about a GPS system in your car, so now when the GPS is on, no matter what, the road may be closed, the GPS system will automatically redirect you. So this is the way that we have to have our minds, is that when we come up with resistance and something is in front of us and it's trying to prevent us from moving forward. Now, your blessing may be behind that next door and you have a choice. You have a choice. So do you move forward or do you decide to do something different? So, and you said it right. Resistance really starts in our mind about what we think. Some people can be in relationships that's negative and they're getting ready to do something that's positive that will probably change their lives. But they may be in a relationship where someone brings negativity to them all the time. And every time they see that person, they have a resistance against succeeding. So if you're a man or you're a woman and they're not being the best that they can be, you may want to look at yourself. Are you being the motivator to that person that can help them reach that next level? Do you criticize that person? So criticism is a resistance. So when people criticize a person, you're stopping them. When you criticize your children, I don't believe in criticizing people. I'll show you what needs to be done and for you to go do it. But then it's your choice. So that resistance. But, think about, if I want to become faster, what do I have to have? I remember, training using the Bruce Lee technique. How do I get my back fist in my karate tournaments to become faster? I don't do more technique. What I do is put a resistance on it. So now I take a 2-pound, start off with a 2-pound hand weight. How many times can I move my hand in 30 seconds with that 2-pound hand weight? So now when I put it down, bam, I'm much faster. So that resistance in training helped me to become faster. And, now maybe I go up to that 5-pound weight, it's heavier, but now I'm doing that. But now if I do that becomes I become even more faster or anything I need to do. But it was that resistance that helped me become faster. So that resistance, where maybe negativity, you have to flip that and use that as your power. Use that as your power to move forward. Don't let anyone kick your can. down the road. You want to, you want to, you can tell I've been watching too much political stuff, right?
No comment.
Now this is a tin can.
Okay, I got you.
But
Yeah.
anyway,
Well,
but
I mean,
go ahead.
resistance is like life asking you, are you ready to to go to that next version of yourself, to go to that next level? It's like that when that resistance jumps up, like you just said, how are you going to take it? I remember I went to a golf tournament. I wasn't a golfer at the time, and I'm just having fun, and the ribbing and the negative comments about, oh, you can't hit the ball, oh my God, where is it gonna go, all that. I had 18 holes of that, and it just got me to the last hole, and I said to myself, oh, they're gonna eat those words. And so the next day I got on getting my golf game together. I didn't take it as a negative strike against my self-image, which a lot of people do. I took it as, okay, I know how to flip this and turn it into a positive. It's just a sign for me to get to work, so that I won't ever give anyone that satisfaction on the golf course. And so now those are the same people asking me to be on their team for tournaments and asking me to come out and participate. And I always said it that day. I said, they're going to eat those words. So I'm continually working and giving them a buffet to eat. So, it's and that's it. We can take it one of two ways, like you were saying. Are we going to flip that and make it a positive, or are we going to go down the road and take it as a negative? Because if you misinterpret resistance as a stop sign, that's when you feel the discomfort, you retreat. You have stagnation, you make excuses, and then that creates a pattern of quitting. So it's important to be aware, have a level of self-awareness behind resistance. I
Mhm.
remember a period in time where I was like, you know what? I'm going to have a new philosophy. I'm going to embrace the path of least resistance. Okay. From one avenue, you could take a look at that and go, that's a good thing. But what I found was it leads to average and mediocrity. Hiding out from the resistance is not, for me, I found that, at least in my expression of where I was and where I've come now, is I don't run from the resistance. I see the resistance and I embrace it at this point. And it always causes me to grow. And I think that's a principle. So it's not just about me, it's about what our viewers and what you and we've experienced going to 10th degree black belt. There was a little resistance at times, wasn't there?
Oh yeah, big time. But that's what we're talking about. Um, be a warrior. Create your warrior energy on the inside. That build it, that it protects you. You see, so when you are attacked, that you build that power of the resistance of negativity. That's what I have applied in my life. For everything that someone has criticized me, the worst thing you can do, the very worst thing you can do, is criticize me. That is the worst thing. That is the worst thing you can ever do, because
Yeah,
I'm going to prove you wrong.
right.
I'm going to prove you wrong. And just like with you, and again, that example that you just gave in your golf game. So you may not. I don't mind riding at the back of the bus, because I know I will drive. You see, that it's not
Yes,
about where
right.
you start. It's not where someone puts you down. You look at that person that's putting you down, or you look at that situation, that guy on your job when they put you down. That's just think about that as an opportunity for you to become uplifted. Think about that person is sent there to bless you with an opportunity to grow. I remember back in 1980, when I left my job and to open up my martial arts school. And I remember everyone said, "Oh, you're going to be back." This was a few days before. They're going, "You're going to be back. You're going to be back." They were just giving me a hard time. You're going to leave a successful job and go open up a karate school. You're going to be back. But you see, the thing with this, 2 weeks later, I pulled up driving my 1978 silver anniversary Corvette, and I put my toolbox in the trunk of my car, and I've never looked back. You see, because
Wow,
all of
that's
that
great.
resistance that they were giving me, telling me I'm going to fail. You see, I could have went out there and been thinking about them every day and said, okay, I'm going to, that was 50 years ago, and I could have been
Right.
thinking about that. Then I could have been right back. The company's then closed down. That could have been my life.
Right.
But because of that, I call them empowering me. So look at resistance as empowerment. So when you're receiving resistance, that is an opportunity for you to grow. Resistance is the water in your life. Resistance is the sunshine in your life. Your resistance is that vitamin pill that you need to take to help you to be able to grow. So resistance is not bad. As sometimes I have found personally, it's that opportunity. Same thing. In bowling, as your story. I went bowling after karate tournament, which I'd beaten everyone, won first place in all the categories. So they took me bowling so they could laugh at me. I couldn't figure out how the ball would stay on the lanes. But you see, as they laughed at me and got on the PA system and made a big joke, you see, I'd never realized there was a bowling center right across my karate school. I never knew it. And that next day, I went over, when I got back in and got the guy at the pro shop to start teaching me how to bowl. I wound up being the bowling coach at Duke University, won numerous awards, and bowling coach at North Carolina Central University. But if they had not laughed at me, I would have never achieved that. If they had not laughed at me, I would have never seen the bowling center that's been sitting in front of my school for 2 or 3 years that I've never seen it before.
Now that's interesting. I don't mean to cut you off, but that's a big point there, because I heard people talk about, it said when the boats came here, when the conquistadors or whoever, they came in these huge ships, and they said the natives couldn't even see it right in front of them because they had no concept for it or a level of awareness to see it. They could see the pontoon boats because they were familiar with that. But they said even from their eyes, their brain couldn't see the huge ships. They didn't have any kind of awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And what you just said is really big, because I think it's called the articular something system in the brain, the ARS. And what it does is it's just like when you buy a red car. You hadn't seen no red cars. Then when you bought one, you see every red car, right?
Right.
So that's interesting that you said the bowling center has been there all the time. It wasn't that a bowling center just popped up because you decided you wanted to bowl and now it was there. Like you said, that level of awareness wasn't even there for that at the time until you got ignited. And that's one term Dan Coyle uses in his book, The Little Book of Talents. So that's exciting right there, because if we raise our level of awareness, we become aware of the opportunities that the resistance has presented to us. That's big, right? I wrote that in my notebook. I tell you all every week, take your notes and then go back and study them. So, yeah.
Well, and that's key. I mean, as I look back on my life, everything that I have achieved or done, it was because of a resistance, something that someone had done, or that's why I said, don't laugh at me. I remember that I wouldn't read in church because I was reading a book. I was reading from the Bible and I couldn't pronounce some of the words, and the people started laughing at me. So I stopped reading the Bible. I wouldn't read out I would not read out in public. And this was long years ago. This is 60 years ago, somewhere along there. And I remember that. And my wife asked me, because I'm a minister, and I'm a minister. She's a pastor of Greater Vision Christian Church. She says, well, in Bible study, says, I told her, baby, don't call me to read. Don't call me. I'm not reading, because that resistance to that That resistance to from that when I was 12, 14 years old, that was still in my mind of people
Mm,
laughing at me and afraid that I would mispronounce a word or I would not succeed. But you see, but that resistance made me better. Now I've published 4 Christian books.
wow.
So see
That's
that
awesome.
resistance of not wanting to read, I mean, because that's what you want to think about. So look at your life right now. What is holding you back? What is your resistance? Because if you now look on the other side of that, you see your opportunity. So what you may be looking at that you feel that's hurting you or setting you back, remember that's your opportunity. When you meet someone, I'm always excited about meeting people because I'm of the belief that if I meet you, there's a reason and a reason why, because there's a message you may be bringing me from the universe, from God. There may be a message that in there that you're supposed to open a door for me, or I may be there to open a door for you. So
Right.
you never know, but that's why you have to have expectation when you have things that happen to you. Remember, it's just opportunities. I mean, it's that's why how some I've written over 60 books, but that 60 books is really about the resistance that was going on in my life that I found a solution to. So as you now begin to study and you ask yourself, what resistance are you having in your life, and that now you can turn that resistance in opportunity. So
Right.
don't criticize your children. Teach your children.
Yeah.
Don't,
Right.
don't criticize
That's
them.
right.
Teach them. Don't
Yeah.
don't criticize your husband. Don't criticize your wife. Support them. Okay, you will make them better. But when you criticize them, then I put people that criticize, especially relationships, I call them thieves.
Mm, that's
They're
yeah,
thieves.
yeah, yeah.
They're stealing that person. Every time they
Right.
create that resistance on that person, and you want to know why come your man or your woman is not better, because you're stealing them. You're putting a
Mm,
thief resistant power on them
mm,
until they break free and probably have to leave the relationship. Then they're not going to grow. So
right.
you can be the
Wow.
gardener or you can be that harvester and of dead stuff after it dies. And that's the
Mm,
relationship. You can harvest a
wow.
dead relationship. And so therefore that relationship is not fruitful. But you don't blame the other person. Look at yourself too. That's because you stand up here and you're looking down on people. You see, because you got it going on today, and you're now down in them. You got to, I want to uplift my wife. I don't want my wife to be down here, me to be here. I want for us to be up here together so we can be
Right.
empowered and that we can enjoy. So and again, it's a lot of scriptures in the Bible that talks about resistance and the people who went through resistance and how spiritually that they were blessed. So so personal empowerment comes in your own thinking. Personal, read, make yourself knowledgeable in those things that you want to become good at. There's no luck in it. You got to work hard. And then the outcome, you just have outcomes from all that work.
Right, right. Well, I love it. Going to a point that you shared in terms of your story, that the programming you had from a boy because of that criticism and those things and how it affected you. But the bigger point is how you've overcome that. I think that's a key thing for us to tune into is the overcoming, not the resistance at the moment. Don't focus on that. Focus on like you said, keep your vision in front of you, keep the goal in front of you, keep where you can go in front of you. But that's a key point there, the paradigm, that program, that automatic program that's running, how important it is that we update our program. And so we talked about some of the keys on this podcast, which is constant space repetition, fill the cup with more goodness, and then it dilutes any of the old programming. However, you mentioned this, it takes work. You don't erase 20, 10, 20, 30 years of whatever habits that have been created without the resistance, and then without the persistence and the resilience, and I would even just say the guts to face things and to overcome. And so I appreciate the example that you just gave. And going back a little further in the conversation when we were talking about those people who show up, don't get so focused on the person and the negativity they're bringing. But I love what you said about see it as an opportunity. The artist, I like this artist. Her name is Queen Herbie, and she speaks about laws and principles in her music. But she has I'm going to read it. It says in one of her lyrics, "There's no enemy inside of me. Every adversary is here to enlighten me." I said, wow, I like that lyric right there. That's really good. It's facing what's in self and understanding that, but then seeing reframing it. So instead of seeing people as your enemy, you see them as bringing you the opportunity to overcome. So I thought that was
Mhm.
very, very poignant on her point. And then to your point, it lined up very nicely. So um, yeah, I'm not on Queen Herbie's payroll, but she has some pretty good lyrics, pretty interesting lyrics. So
Well, there's some great things out there. So resistance can also, it can reveal your weak spot, and
mm,
so when someone knows your weak spot, and again, mine is being criticized. You know, nobody criticizes me. Nobody. I tell my wife, baby, you cannot criticize me, right? You know, but
right.
again, so again, but that resistance, or because of human nature, puts people there, and then you start looking at, and what it does, that resistance creates a limiting belief.
Mm.
That
Oh, big
limiting
one.
belief, I
Yeah.
can't do any better. In relationships, you find that someone believes you can't, convince you can't do any better, so you stay in that relationship. I'm gonna tell you
Ah,
that, in relationships, sometimes you just gotta let some people go, because sometimes they're just there for a season to open a door that they're just training you for the next opportunity. So
yeah.
don't never get to the place that you are now just uh, compacted into a relationship you feel like you got to stay in, because people would develop, make you feel like you're dependent upon the relationship and you can't survive. So that's a resistance. I can't survive unless I'm in this relationship. No, that's to
Interesting.
change your thinking, because the person, your life partner, could be out there someplace. And that's the same thing in business. That's the same thing in everything that you do. If you're getting a resistance, then you need to understand that you have to become empowered, and don't let it be a part of your limiting belief. And this is where growth is required. Study, read, find those people that have the lifestyle that you want to be. You find that, because you have the conscious you, which I'm in right now, but you also have the subconscious you. And this is where that 70,000 thoughts that you produce every day is rambling around in your head. So you have to now focus those thoughts. Don't think about all the bad things happening in your life. Think about who you want to be. Use your vision board, pull it out, start to journal. Have that, the power to live your vision is about your vision. Now, if you're not getting what you want, maybe your vision is limited. So you have to work on expanding that vision. But those are things that you have to determine within you. Your wife, your children, or nobody else can define that. You have to define that within yourself.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And well, I mean, yeah, it's a path to mastery. And you're right. We get to reframe some things. Hopefully today's show and everyone, again, we thank Elite Publications for sponsoring the show, and you all always go back to your show notes. I encourage you to always go back and review, especially if you're taking notes. Just to be taking notes is not going to serve you. But if you go back, read those, go back and watch the episode again. I know I go back and just review the episodes, and I hear things that we discuss, and I'm going, okay, all right. My brain must have been moving because I didn't fully catch all of that, but that's really good right there. So the way the brain works. So go on Roku, go on Spotify, let's see, YouTube, Facebook, and also you mentioned to me we're also on Apple Podcasts, right? So that's great. So yay.
Move it on
So
up.
yeah. Hanging out with Apple. All right.
Uh,
But everyone go on there, make sure you subscribe and spread the word too, because if something we're sharing inspires you, ignites you, which happens. You never know. It could be one statement, one word, one thought, one idea that ignites you to overcome the resistance and to use the resistance in your favor as opposed to seeing it as a stop sign. So we're encouraging you to do that. I know we're getting close to the end of the episode. Any other thoughts, sir, that we should put in front in terms? I like how we looked at the idea. You gave a little meat on how we can actually apply it through visualization, through meditation, through using, and the cool thing everyone should keep in mind is visualization and using your internal systems is free. It doesn't cost you anything. You just take a little time to do it. And so that's the awesome thing. Now, if you want some guidance, because there are some things that can make it more efficient for you. There are some things that can make it, as you always say, the easy button, which is having a coach and a mentor to guide you through some of this. We've had extensive practice, like we mentioned. We're both 10th degree black belts, and a lot of that is around excellence and how we utilize our mind as the tool to overcome obstacles and to overcome the resistance and actually transform the resistance into growth and development.
well, you're exactly right. Our book of the week this week is going to be Law of Attractions, Your Thoughts Determine Your Destiny. Okay, Law of Attraction, Your Thoughts Determine Your Destiny. This is a book I've written several years ago. So you can go to, it's available on Amazon. So again, that is Law of Attraction, Your Thoughts Determine Your Destiny. That is our recommended book for reading this week, because whatever you think about most is what you drag into your life. So remember, your thinking helps to create your life. And everyone remember, everyone has a story. You have to get it out. So you have a gold mine in your life of experience, and sharing that experience in a book is a powerful thing to do. So remember, write your book. I'm getting ready to launch a 100 author program where I'm going to be promoting and helping 100 authors write their book. And we're going to be doing this over the next 3 months. So if you've been thinking about writing a book, remember, email me at info@elitepublications.org. That's info@elitepublications.org. And everyone, so be blessed. And guess what? We will be back next week. And remember, if you have a specific topic you would like to discuss, then email us. Let us know. Again, that's info@elitepublications.org. Be more than happy to take your topic to discuss it. Also, if you'd like to set up a coaching session with Coach Ray or myself, you can email us there too and request a coaching session. All right. Yep. Hey, Coach, I'm out of here. So you have a blessed week. And
yes, sir. You too.
I'll have that website up next week that people can start pre-ordering a copy of the Power to Live Your Vision book. So
hey,
I'll have that.
All right.
So I promise you on that. That'll be up next week.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, everyone. Be blessed.